Welcome to Married AF. We are your hosts, Brooke and Randall Fowler. On this show, we discuss the topics that really matter.
Like big veiny cocks and our favorite TV shows.
So pull up a chair at our kitchen table and hang out.
While I bulldog my nuts. Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Good night.
This is a late one. It is 10:15-ish.
10:22.
And this is not when we normally record. This is so late for
This is usually when
old grandpa and grandma here.
Stopping to record, yeah. Oh, they just emailed us and messaged on Skype. So I'm going to reply back to her and say we're going to call. And
Cool. Yeah, we got a cool-ass episode tonight. The only reason we're recording late is because we are big fans of these folks. We have Mo Mandel and his girlfriend, Dr. Ashley. They are the hosts of Full Release Podcast, and they're awesome. She's a urologist. He's a stand-up comedian, actor, producer, writer. Badass. If you haven't seen his stand-up, it's fucking funny.
yeah,
Shit is golden.
they're super funny together, and their podcast is awesome. The lengthy discussions that have occurred on our podcast and on Twitter about things like squirting, the fact that one of their episodes has that in the title, I was like, all right, these are my people.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was immediate. When I heard them for the first time, I had to reach out to them. And Brooke was like, yes, they're perfect guests for us. You'll see. If you don't listen to their podcast, you should. And hopefully after this sit-down sesh together, we will introduce them to you, and you will embrace them like we have.
Sorry, I was messaging Ashley back, and I could just feel your eyes like burning into my
Why?
head because I was not engaged.
No, I knew what you were doing, babe. I knew you were reaching out to her, but I want to make sure we mention our sponsors here real quick before we call them. Bidet, champions of ass cleaning.
Yep. Spunk Lube, champions of making things
Wiener
slippery.
glossing.
Or that.
They are both great at both of those. And Muscle Vodka. I think we can go ahead and do our shots now, babe, so we don't have to interrupt. Explain the whole story to them.
Oh, I just did in the mic what I throat punch you for.
Cheers.
I was so weak. Oh, this is straight vodka?
No, pineapple tits.
It's so clear. It scares me every time.
Yeah, you taste the pineapple, right?
Yeah, but just the optics of like taking a shot of something totally clear makes me think it's going to be like grain alcohol.
Yeah. Oh, it is scary. So this is episode 59.
59. Yeah, I think the intro of Rachel's last night, you said 57, and I was like, and it was not. It was 58.
They'll be all right.
We're good at this.
Yeah. Getting it together. But
I'm going to see how many times we can both cough into the mic.
Yeah,
and
clear our throats.
Yeah.
I think you guys will like this. We have a lot of, you guys came through like champs with the listener questions for these guys. So buckle up. Grab your cocks, stuff them between your legs, and sit back and relax.
Maybe bulldog your nuts too.
Yeah. So let's give them a ring.
All right. Oh crap! My phone wanted my face to open.
This is gonna be the jam, though.
That's you.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Oh, we didn't put video on. I don't even know if y'all want to see our
Howdy,
mugs.
howdy.
Oh, well, this isn't fair. If you're not on video, we shouldn't be on video. Hey, what's up?
Oh, you guys look so much more legit than us right now. We don't have microphones.
There's Randall.
Hey.
Howdy. How are you guys?
Nice to unofficially meet you guys.
Absolutely. We are.
Give me that.
What do you need, baby? Oh, there you go. Yeah, we're huge fans of you guys, by the way. We love your show.
Oh, thank you so much. And we really appreciate the retweets and stuff. That was so nice of you guys.
Oh, man. No problem at all. We I want to let you know, just because we share something in common, the Brian Callen connection. In my mind, he's one of my best friends. We met once, and I'll tell you the story. We went and saw Fighter and the Kid live when they came to Atlanta, because I've followed that show since they were in like Callen's garage, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you know you're good friends with Brian, right? Or
I mean, I definitely I've known him for years through stand up, and I see him at auditions and shit all the time.
Yeah. And so, he likes bigger guys. Like he always talks about that, guys of size intrigue him. And so he picked me out of the crowd when they were in Atlanta. And he came out and he talked to me. He's like, "You're a big old boy. What do you do? What do you bench? All this stuff."
He's like, "Were you in the military?"
Yeah. And so he sat on my lap, and I was like, "Dude, I love Callen. Pound for pound, he's one of my favorites. As smart.
Yeah. He's like, his likability factor is off the charts.
It is pretty amazing.
And so, we talked to him for a little bit. We did a picture with him, and so we did the reverse prom picture where, I'm behind Callen.
No, he was behind you. He was holding you ever so gently.
Yes, okay, that. Yeah. And then, of course, my wife loves Shab. Because
I was like, I guess I'll stand with Brendan Shab because,
his large frame and destroyed ears. But so I've known, of course, I've followed your stand-up for a long time, Mo. I think you're awesome. Funny as shit. A lot of your stuff is right down my wheelhouse. And so
you're a fucked up guy then. I like it.
Oh, 100%. It's right up my speed. But I didn't know Ashley yet till Fighter and the Kid. And I got to tell you, you crushed it on Fighter and the Kid, Dr. Ashley. You were amazing. You laid the pipe to those 3 guys.
Nah, it was tough because they're all in the entertainment business, and I'm just the lowly doctor there. So
you didn't make it look tough. You didn't make it look tough at all. I know. I was so embarrassed because I've been doing stand up for 14 years, been on a lot of TV shows, podcasts. That was Ashley had never really been on another. I don't think she'd ever been on a podcast that was even filmed. And every comment was like, "Mo, shut the fuck up and let Ashley talk." I was like, I'm gonna kill myself.
Oh.
I mean, I can only imagine that. I mean, having you guys on because of how much Callen talks about dicks. He had to be foaming at the mouth to get at Dr. Ashley with all those questions. It was an awesome episode. Yeah. So the second I finished listening, I emailed y'all. I mean, I'm sure you didn't look at the timestamp, but as soon as I listened to it, I emailed you, and I told Brooke, I said, "These fucking guys are awesome. We got to try to get them on." Brooke listened, was like, "Gotta have them."
Well, it's funny because as soon as you contacted us, we looked at your podcast, and the way you name your episodes, I was this is exactly how we name our episodes. Just random filthy insanity every episode.
Yeah, it's usually whatever most disgusting, stupid thing we say through an episode. I'll be jotting shit down, pineapple tits, or it's whatever random names are shot that night or something.
Yeah.
So.
It could be anything, but we try to make it as and the thing is, the more vulgar, the better the episode does.
Oh, no
it's
doubt,
ridiculous.
No doubt. The more, oh God, what one was it that was
I don't know. They've all done well. Anything that says cocks always does well.
Right.
Tits.
We thought the more scandalous, the better. So then Mo named one of the episodes I gave my uncle herpes, but that one hasn't done.
Yeah, that one was too much.
So we don't know why.
Yes, you're right. Actually, that is the only one that has not done well. I guess
everybody skips over that.
Which is weird because what would you rather hear about than
wanna know
giving
about
your
how to-
uncle herpes?
When you want to know how to give your uncle herpes, I mean, I think that's a really important life skill.
That was a fascinating one. So this was a question we got for somebody who's it was actually kind of an uplifting story as herpes often is. This guy had he had written in because his uncle, I think it was, has Parkinson's, and he felt bad because his uncle was in like a home, so he took him to a strip club just to give him a night out. And while his uncle was getting a lap dance, one of the strippers put her hoo-ha on his face and gave him herpes.
Oh no!
Very nice.
Oh no!
That's fucked up and awesome at the same time.
I know. No good deed goes unpunished.
No. And I wanted to say that this, from one of your recent episodes, I know you guys have the call-in line where people can call in, and we've basically binged y'all's episodes because we love them. But the guy that called in and was talking about Ashley and her, I think it was middle school yearbook with Green Day, saying that she liked Green Day and didn't know who they were. Yeah. And him talking about the 50 Cent thing. Well, that's the thing you share in common with Brooke that's hilarious because
how?
Because it's kind of talking about the not knowing, and for years she swore that
I know what you're gonna say.
The song Panama was Animal. So she, Panama. She thought she was singing Animal the whole time for years and years.
It's a very endearing quality when people just don't get pop culture references. Yes. Because far be it for me to say Ashley needs to watch like more like pop culture bullshit media. But it's like sometimes I talk to her and I almost feel like she was like in that movie where Brandon, here's some pop culture, but was raised in like a bomb shelter, and then he came out. It was like Blast from the Past or something. It was some horrible Brandon.
Yes.
Because I feel like that's what happened to Ashley because she doesn't know like almost anything. Like it's amazing. She knows everything about science and medicine, and then you could be like, "Remember that Nirvana album?" And she's like, "Is that a Coldplay song?" Like she just does not know.
Well, I got a taste of that from you on this last episode too, and I almost had to punch myself in the face because you said that Ashley's never watched Breakfast Club.
That was
which is crazy.
I could not believe, dude. I was like,
that hurt my soul, Ashley, and I don't like. It's one of my like top 5 like for sure 80s movies, and I probably know every single word to Breakfast Club, and I know that like you're a few years younger than we are, but I was like, oh no, she did not say she hasn't seen Breakfast Club. It's like one of the best.
Ashley, how do you answer these charges?
You know it, but I was just totally like a loser. I was.
But see, that's a weird answer because I feel like a loser would have watched Breakfast Club and like really identified.
Agreed.
Because when I was in like high school and maybe you were watching right at that time like what would have been a little bit of an older movie, the Breakfast Club, I was like reading like Jane Austen books.
Oh, you were
like I was reading like Russian literature. I was really
now I'm a loser.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Really, we're the losers.
Like I was where were we were in like with one of the nurses today. We're talking like about how like I never went to prom and she went to prom every year.
Well, I didn't know that, really.
Yeah, I never went to prom. I was like so like scared of boys. Like I think maybe somebody would try to talk to me and I would literally run away from them. Like it's so crazy now that I have the job that I have because I was terrified of boys in every way. Like there was no way I would have ever ended up going to the prom.
Is that why you became a urologist, just to make up all the dicks you didn't see in high school?
I know. I think it is. It's like overcompensating. I'm just like, oh, like I have to prove to myself I'm not terrified. Like, oh my God, I had to like do the craziest job. Like,
yeah, and for everybody,
that she was a virgin when we first had sex. This is the conversation when I finally find that out.
Yeah, it's true.
No,
well,
it's not true at all.
I forgot to. We put it in the intro, and it'll be on there when we post the episode. But we didn't even introduce them. That's Mo Mandel and
Dr. Ashley Winter.
Yeah, she's a urologist. Awesome story. We're gonna dive into that because she knows all things cocks, and everybody should know.
It's a match
Mo.
made in heaven. It's a comedian and a doctor that specializes in wieners.
No, it is a setup for. I mean, that is.
Well, Yeah, when we first started dating, we're like, all right, so we got to do this podcast. So you're a dick doctor. I'm a comedian who tells 90% dick jokes. So we were like, all right, let's do this podcast. And then we were like, we brainstormed like a million names, and then we came up with the name The Full Release, and we're like, that's kind of perfect because it's just like, it's dirty, and yet it's kind of like, I guess if we wanted to get intellectual, like The Full Release, I feel like we talk about like all kinds of stuff, which I like. It, you know, it's like medicine, but then it also kind of goes into just insanity. Like we did an episode, one of my favorite episodes we did, which is about how animals have sex, and we talked about like in detail how bed bugs fuck. And I mean, that's just need to know information.
Of course.
You know, I'm really happy we could share that with people.
And like from my standpoint, the reason why one of the reasons why we did it was just because so much content from doctors is like just really dry and unapproachable, and it doesn't have to be that way. So we just thought it would be nice to kind of talk about the things I care about and the things he cares about, and just be kind of normal. Like,
yeah,
we're definitely not normal, but that is
okay, but approachable, like not like, here's like study and you're falling asleep,
Well, that's kind of the reason that we started the podcast. Really, was that we have so many friends, and you watch them get married, and then their life kind of just crumbles, like they're dead. And it doesn't have to be that way. We both were married prior and divorced, failed miserably in our first attempts. So we kind of know what not to do. And so, we kind of want to show people, you can do shit together, have fun together, talk about dirty dicks and buttholes, and have good sex still, be attracted to each other, and talk to cool ass people together.
So we're not married yet, but we're definitely planning on it. Give us the, maybe your top 3 pieces of advice that we need to know, going into that next step.
Yeah. Well, that's a great question, and we've kind of touched on that before. You want to give yours first, and then I'll give one. What's your number one?
My
advice?
number one is like to always, and it sounds so cheesy, but just always make sure you're being nice to each other. Like, don't ever let even when you're just just having a bad day or whatever, and it's easier to just kind of pop off or whatever, but like just at the core of it, just always being nice and kind and putting the other person's feelings first. It really, like, just having that conscious decision is my like number one.
And knowing how to argue, I guess, is kind of like a part of that, I would guess. Because one thing I love about our relationship is me and Ashley, we don't, I think we do kind of what you're saying. We don't go to these nasty places, even when we're angry, which is so important because it's so hard to forgive sometimes if someone's revealed
their true feelings.
Yeah,
you can cross a line for sure if you don't fight properly, because there's always a point of no return. You know what I'm saying? Where you can be like, and you'll probably know it and be like, fuck, boy, I fucked it there.
I'm sure, like, we might have done that, like, early on, but, like, it's been...
Yeah, maybe, but,
But, I think everybody goes through those, like, growing pains. But, yeah, that's a very good point, because I would never say anything to intentionally hurt your feelings.
Of course not. Like, I would never do that to you, but,
But in previous relationships, oh, fuck yes, I did. And, like, hence...
Do you think that's you, or do you think that's, like, the people you were dating were not... we're not necessarily reasonable or not communicating effectively. So if they were throwing that stuff down, like, you had to throw it back down.
Oh, yeah. It was all of that. I think it was just a combination of all that and not being with the right person for sure. And yeah, it wasn't all one-sided, but.
No, for sure. For me, it was, I wasn't able to be who I really am, Not like there's some big reveal, but I was kind of, I think I was faking it a lot. Not, orgasms also. I was faking those all the time. But no, just faking it through life. I couldn't.
I've done that. Have you never faked an orgasm? I definitely, I can't generally feel almost anything when I use a condom. So, like, I think
we've never used a condom.
Yeah, we did in the beginning.
We don't use them now either. I'm just saying, like,
with other women.
With other women, I mean, like back when I used to drink a lot too. I think I've been sober for 4 years, but I used to drink a shitload. And if I was having like a one night stand with a condom and like 8 beers in me,
oh yeah,
you'd be like, see that.
Oh, for sure. There's tons of those drunken where you're like, this is never gonna work. So you just have a little mini seizure on top of them and be like, that was great, babe. That was wonderful.
You just fold it on in.
Yeah, but I always go back to this advice that my Papa George gave me. He's my grandpa. He was just the best guy I ever knew. And his advice for me was to never buy in the bullshit of expecting it to be a 50-50 split. There's no number, it's just you're going to pull. Sometimes you're going to pull 80%. Sometimes you're going to pull 10. Sometimes you're going to pull, just go with the flow of that. If you start really trying to be like, I do this, and you do, and you're not doing this, that's a recipe for disaster.
I think that's such a good point. And I see when people are in relationships and they're like you're saying, they're counting, or there's like a tit for tat, or kind of a like, you owe me XYZ. You definitely get resentment. And I think somebody was talking to me once about like finances in a relationship, and with us, like, I don't even like think about what you're paying for or not. Like I just pay for stuff and you pay for stuff, and I don't feel like I'm like counting it, because I think we're both like equally giving, kind of.
I agree. I mean, you do owe me $1,300 but I mean, it's good to know that you're not counting. I certainly am. I have a spreadsheet going right now.
I don't look at it.
I know. I love it. It's almost like I don't think about it. Yeah, I get that. That's why you owe me $1,300.
All right. We just stayed 4 nights in Miami.
Oh,
there it is.
God, it's all falling apart.
No keeping score.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, I mean, we've got it. As you wheel it in, and you guys will be fine. I mean, I know that you guys aren't married, but you can just, I mean, I can kind of smell it on couples now, because I've got so many friends that are in such miserable relationships, and I feel bad for them, and they'll talk to us about it, because obviously we're pretty secure, because we're willing to have a podcast and talk about our sex life, and her dad could listen, my mom could listen,
my
aunts and uncles do listen, and sorry, but this is what it is, and so
I think it's a really kind of a beautiful thing that you guys do. I mean, because I think what's great about your podcast, you do let people in on the sort of the nitty gritty and the dirty realities of a relationship, which I think, kind of like you're saying that when people are starting out and you're trying to act fake or this or that, it's sort of like relationships in general, people sort of present in a sort of fake way. If they only post certain things on Instagram, on Facebook. Yes. And so if your relationship isn't, a Disney cartoon, maybe you're going to start judging yourself harsher, be like, oh, what's wrong with me? But to have like an accurate description of what is a functionally healthy, happy relationship, but still has the dirt and the grime of any kind of a human relationship has, I think is you're doing a real service to the married people of this country and other countries.
Hey, we do have a few other countries sprinkled in there.
Yeah, pop in there. It's, I don't buy it, though. It's got to be in there, because I don't see why someone in Ethiopia would be listening to...
One guy on on a Peace Corps mission.
Yeah,
I know we have like a few Canada and other various like English speaking countries, but I don't know.
Well, that's what's so cool about the internet. It's like you just like this, you can just sort of connect with people. Like, I mean, it's.
I know.
I'll tell you, amazing. I really think this internet thing is going to catch on. I really do.
Oh yeah,
Al Gore was onto something.
I'm going to put I'm going to put some money behind it. I agree. And I mean, I don't know if you guys know, but what really happened with us where it bit us, the podcasting thing, I think, or for me it was, we've never discussed it, but we got lucky and Kristen Beck came on our show. Formerly Chris Beck, the first Navy SEAL transgender.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I reached out to her on a whim and she came on, blew my tits off because I was not expecting her to even reply. And she came on and spent, an hour and some change with us and just made us realize what sexist shit we really are. And it was, incredible. And to have her on, and now she's like a friend, and we do some stuff with her charity that she backs, Wounded Paw Project, where they help provide service dogs to veterans, to help them out. And they're usually dogs that are going to be put down if they don't, get adopted. So it's a cool thing. This internet definitely helps connect people that
but that's
never
when we
should.
were like, all right, we need to keep talking to people. And
yeah.
So.
Well, Ashley just hit up our most recent episode. We have Dan Savage on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, who's just awesome. And Ashley just hit him up on Twitter.
I knew he was going to be in Portland, and I just said, "Hey, you're awesome. Can you be on our podcast?" And then he just showed up.
He just
apartment.
comes up at our apartment, hangs out for 2 hours. It's it's so weird. That actually works.
I know. I'm like, okay, you have internationally syndicated advice column and a top podcast and a TV show that was a sitcom that was designed after your life, and you just came over and shot the shit.
That's super cool.
Yeah, wasn't he hot? Was he super high? Wasn't that what you were saying, Mo? Was he higher than anyone on earth?
I would have never guessed that he was high because he didn't seem high to me, but he kept saying that he was high. So that's the difference with people who, I guess, can smoke weed and people who can't. Mm-hmm. If I took even half a puff, I would just be retarded,
that's
in a completely different world. Yeah, so you're like that too?
Oh, I'm miserable.
Yeah, it's miserable to me. I just don't understand how people do it.
Me
he was
either,
saying
bro.
Eloquent things, and then he'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm high." I'm like, "Are you kidding? That's
those
brilliant."
are better words than my words all the time.
Yeah.
It was very yeah.
I think he is he's a big he doesn't smoke. I guess he's a big edible guy, but that's enough.
Oh, that's like Rogan.
Yeah, all those. Yeah, that's the big thing. But I mean, if I touch that shit, I just immediately lose feeling in all my limbs.
And edibles make you even more high than smoking weed. So I
could
can't.
never do that.
I mean,
die.
They even kind of scare me. And I used to smoke pot a lot.
Yeah, not me.
But,
it's never been my thing.
Yeah.
I wish I could.
I do too. I mean, I look at Rogan. I see him at the Comedy Store every night in LA, and I'm just like, how do you do everything you do and you're high? It defies logic.
It does.
I also think with all the legal marijuana over here, it's you can get different. It's so curated, I think you can get the mild forms and you can get the fucking up forms, and they have these how do you say it? Sommelier? I can't say it.
Sommeliers, weed sommeliers.
Yeah, they totally do. I mean, it's it's hilarious. You go to what was it? Oregon State Capitol, and across the street from the Capitol building, there's a giant weed store, and it just says marijuana, in a giant billboard.
Yeah, what's it like in Atlanta right now? Are they still pretty uptight on it, or are they cool?
Oh, there's not even medical.
No, there's not yet,
use
and
marijuana,
it sucks. I mean, I think it's coming. I mean,
it's got to be.
They're lightening up on the as far as the criminalization of it, but nothing. As long as you have under, I don't even know enough about weed. Whatever the little sprinkle amount is, you're cool. But I guess if it's over a dime bag or whatever ounces, you go to jail here.
I don't know.
My brother lives in Atlanta, and he's in college. And last time I visited him, his high friend squeezed my butt. So,
so that's what Atlanta weed does.
Yeah, that's that Atlanta dirty South. Dirt weed.
I turned around and I was like, I am twice your age.
That's ridiculous.
You smoke that Atlanta weed, you think a crunk concert's pumping out, or whatever you guys call it.
So I've got to ask you, Mo, because you just made me think of something. The Comedy Store, the famous Comedy Store in L.A.
Yeah.
What's that like? There's God, all of these awesome comedians just hanging out there. What the fuck is that like?
Yeah, it's pretty wild, man, because it's one of those things where you realize how fortunate you are when people who are from out of town who are just fans of comedy come by, because I'll just be hanging out and all it is you call in once you're a paid regular, like I've been fortunate enough to be, and they write your name on the side of the building. You call in every Monday, and then they give you your spots for the week. And I'll just be like hanging out in the hallway, and there's like Rogan talking to Joey Diaz, talking to Theo Vaughn, talking to Brian Callen, talking to Kevin Nealon, talking to Ali Wong. And you just know all these people on such a casual level because you're all making $15 that night.
Right.
I mean, everybody
and that's
makes
crazy
$15.
too.
That's
so
insane.
it's sort of like, sure, Rogan shows up in a car that'll make you want to jump off a bridge, and a different one every other night. But it's sort of like you don't really realize how lucky you are. And then someone who's just a fan of comedy or podcast will show up and be like, oh my God.
Right.
Just taking pictures of everybody. You're like, what? I don't get it.
Well, so
and then if you're like me, where you're there, but you're not really famous, like, can you take a picture of me and Theo and Rogan? I'm like, oh, God.
Well, so you've kind of seen, we just saw Chris D'Elia here in Atlanta at he stopped and he had to stop at the Tabernacle here. So we got tickets, and
so good.
I like D'Elia, and he was kind of like, he's good. I enjoy him. Wasn't on my top. And then we saw him live, and I mean, the guy's a killer. I've never laughed like that in my life.
I've never seen him laugh that much, like out loud.
In
one sitting.
I've never seen someone get the kind of laughs that D'Elia gets. Like it's funny because I remember moving to LA in 2008, and I did like a small little show, and I remember I had never met Chris, and he was certainly nobody at the time. I remember my career being quite a bit ahead of his, actually, which is sad to say out loud. But I remember seeing him go up and bomb, and I just remember thinking, that guy will be an enormous star. Like, there was just no doubt. Even though the audience wasn't laughing, he just had something, But, and then I remember, like, 5 years later, it was this weird thing where, like, when he was really starting to, like, just pop and going for the kill to really, like, kind of make his point around town, it was like you could just hear from outside the room a kind of laughter that no one else could generate, where there was just no, like me, I'm all like about writing. My act is very like written. I know how to go up there and like write jokes. So there's a joke, there's laughter, and then there's a silence as I'm setting up the next one. Chris is just like, this sort of wave noise. Like, what is, like 8 women are having orgasms during the show. It's just like,
insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
There were dudes, like, it was so weird. We were up in the balcony for this show with him, and this poor guy in front of me was screaming out. Most of the time it'll be girls, and it was just this rogue, and he was with his girlfriend or wife, but he just turned into such a
and he kept throwing his head back and hitting his head on Randall's knee because the seats, have you ever performed at the Tabernacle in Atlanta?
No.
You need to come. It's awesome.
Let me just tell you, no.
I've
done the old, what was that place I did out Rosewood?
Roswell?
Is that the Punchline?
Roswell, yeah. What was it called? It was called the Funny Farm, or
the Funny Farm.
Oh,
I remember doing that
on Roswell Road. Yeah,
nice. Yeah, the Tabernacle though, that it's like 120-year-old church.
Oh, but the seats in the balcony are like not for anybody of Randall's size. So he was like, his knees were like up on the back of this guy's chair, but he was like kept laughing and being like up and like hitting his head on Randall's knees every time. We were like, okay.
But he was so busy throwing his underwear and shit at D'Elia that he didn't even notice.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you're like so funny that people are willing to sustain head injuries during the no, actually the time I did Roswell was me and Theo Vaughn were co-headlining back in like 2009 or 10. Do you know Theo?
Oh, yes. God, I love Theo. I remember him from damn MTV. I know he doesn't talk about it, or he definitely hasn't used that. That guy's been it's a pleasure to watch him do well like he has. It's incredible.
Yeah, he's hysterical. Yeah. And I lived in Louisiana for a long time. So when the first time we watched his stand-up, it was like, Randall was like, he used to be on MTV, like on Road Rules or whatever it was. And I was like, he's from Louisiana. Let's watch it.
And he was nuts.
I was like, oh my God.
Me and him got to be friends where in 2008, there was a writer's strike. And so Comedy Central did this show called Reality Bites Back, where it didn't need writers, and they just put like 8 comedians in different stupid reality TV kind of situations where they would change it up to kind of make it ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And it was me, Theo, Bert Kreischer, Amy Schumer, Tiffany Haddish, Donnell Rollins, and it was just bananas. You know what I mean?
That's
it's like
insane.
It Yeah, it was like a pretty bad show, I thought, but it apparently launched quite a few enormous careers.
You guys were like the what was it, the Disney thing? You know how like the Disney launches all the
yeah, it was like the Disney Channel, like the SNL of a certain generation.
Like the Mickey Mouse Club's what you're thinking of. That did like Timberlake and Ryan Gosling and
Britney Spears.
Aguilera. Yeah, it's exactly what it was.
But it was really fun. It was like such a ridiculous concept where it was like instead of the biggest loser, they'd do the biggest chubby who could gain the most weight in a week or a day. I gained 13 pounds in one day.
That sounds fun.
I could do that just because I'm a bigger guy. I can lose and gain it. We actually just had a thing. We met you guys kind of coming in. Our listeners that challenged me to see if I could lose 15 pounds in 30 days, and I lost 17 in 4.5.
Holy
wait! You
shit.
lost 17 pounds in 4.5 days?
Oh yeah. Just sweating more and working out harder and drinking water instead of beer.
He was 257 pounds. So it's like, because I was like, fuck you. But he's like, if you lost 17 pounds, it'd be like,
30% of your body weight. For me, it was just 4 or 5%.
The percentage. Yeah,
That's still a lot of weight because the way that. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, but Mo, when Mo stops eating a pint of ice cream every night, he also like he's always like, oh, I feel so fat, and then like he spends 2 days not eating an entire pint of ice cream, and he's like, oh, I look ripped.
Yeah,
there
weird. Yeah,
it's like, oh man, like testosterone is so good. Like,
well,
I don't. I used to drink a lot, and ever since I've stopped drinking, I like just the sugar cravings have never gone away. It's weird. It's like you just. Like all I think about when it comes to like whenever I would drink whiskey, now it's like I need to get some Ben and Jerry's. Like it's this weird.
That's the
lame,
substitute.
It's like I just switched to a lame addiction.
That's hilarious.
Oh, whiskey, but
Dr. Ashley, you just brought up a point though, and I want to ask these because I don't want to, hold you guys hostage forever. But we got a ton of. We opened it up on Twitter to ask us questions to ask you guys.
And I think they're all for Ashley.
And they blew. No, there's a few in here.
Sense. I mean, I get it.
No, there's a bunch in here for Mo
questions
too.
about
but
dicks, yay!
This one I know the guy and I know his challenge, and it starts off as pretty funny. It says, would you ask the good doctor if there's any drugs I can take to shoot loads across the room again? I used to blast to the next county when I was 17. Now I'm lucky if it doesn't all just glob out and land on my nuts. I'm scheduled to go see a urologist soon, so maybe she could talk about male fertility a little for dudes in their late 30s.
Did I ask this question?
Asking for a friend.
Now, this is a friend. Let me kind of set the story. He's a former bodybuilder, so there's a high chance that there were performance-enhancing drugs at one time that probably shut down his endocrine system, thus the problem. So what do you think?
Well, yeah, there's a whole bunch of things I'm thinking about. So one, like you're saying, is it just about the shooting and the kind of pleasure of orgasm of having like an intense shoot, or is it a question about fertility? Like,
he's wanting to knock his wife up to start a family.
Yeah, and do you know if he's had like a semen analysis done?
No, I don't know that part.
Yeah. So, and I imagine they've been trying and unsuccessful.
That's what it sounds like to me too.
Yeah. So, let's see. For sure, I think going to the urologist will be important. If he's been on performance-enhancing drugs and stopped them, then definitely there's a possibility his testicles aren't making as much anymore. If you're on testosterone or other steroids and you stop them, it can take up to 2 years before your own balls are kind of doing their own thing. If you let nature kind of lead its course. So what he needs to do when he goes and sees that urologist is just be honest about what he's been using, because, there's no there's no judgment, and if that person knows, they can help him better. So like if I have a guy who said, yeah, I was taking testosterone, I want to start making my own sperm again, then like, one of the things you would do, for example, is give them HCG, because HCG helps your testicles come back faster. But if somebody just has bad sperm counts, for example, and they weren't on testosterone, you're not necessarily going to use that. So he should just talk to them about what he was or wasn't taking, because they can help him better. maybe HCG. You know, if it's just about shooting a far load, that's a totally different matter, and I don't know.
What I do is right before I come, I'll just sort of fling my dick to the side, and so it'll just sort of helicopter across the room. That's what's known as the Amish technique.
Mo has developed a device called the cum cannon.
It's like a catapult.
And,
you just sort of fling your dick up.
Yeah, he just as he's orgasming, he just presses this button and just, you know.
That's incredible.
And that is our idea, by the way.
Yeah.
So I don't want anybody to do it. That is copyrighted.
No, patent that.
Patent pending.
The thing we want to patent is a dick unicorn headband. That was the one.
Oh, that was something we talked about on the Dan Savage. Somebody asked the question, could they have their dick put on their forehead so they could go into porn as the unicorn?
Like a dildo headband. I think a dildo headband is a great idea.
I'm sure that exists.
Oh, that has to. With a GoPro right above it.
I feel like, that has to have happened by now.
That's your house in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I can have a drone drop it off.
That reminds me too, since you got that copywritten, and I mentioned this to Mo in the email or a message, you guys have got to put out, your first shirt for your podcast, and it has to be about the Galactagogs or Galactagods, however you were saying it.
I told Ashley when you said that, I thought that was so, first of all, it was flattering just that you would remembered that, and it was it was kind of made us feel good, but also I was like, that is, we need to hire an artist to design a Galactagog.
You have to. I'm not bullshitting. That is fucking hilarious. That whole bit, and I don't know if you caught that part.
I don't know if I listened
Somebody
to that
wrote into them about, it was a woman and she was taking something to help, was it to increase her milk?
Yeah. Basically, what was that?
It was something like I know what it was. She wanted her milk to taste.
No. There are certain herbs you can take or supplements to increase your milk, but what she noticed when she was taking it was that her pussy fluid tasted like maybe
pancakes. You got it, Mo. Pancakes.
She's calling in to tell all women to just take this shit, whether or not they're lactating,
right?
So that guys will go down on
But
them.
the thing that she was taking was something called a Galactagog, right?
No, so the medical term for anything that makes you lactate more is a galactagog.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
Is it really?
Word. Yeah.
It's a perfect
It sounds
word.
like something from Star Trek or something.
Well, yeah, and so on the episode, Mo kind of ran with that, and for 5 minutes, he was just like, we're the Galactagogs. And I was like, dude, that's a shirt. That's a shirt.
It has to be.
With the two of you.
With
and
cartoons of women
pancakes.
shooting milk.
Yeah, shooting pancakes in outer space or something. Flying
After that episode, the International House of Pancakes gave us $8,000 just to keep talking.
Right.
All right. Well, this question is for Mo, and again, we're not responsible for these questions. These are not us, so you're going to get some. This is the world we live in. Mo, why do girls never joke about fucking their girlfriend's dads like all the guys I grew up with talk about fucking their buddies' moms?
That's an interesting question. I had this bit going with Ashley that at her sister's wedding, I was going to beat up her father and her brother to establish dominance in the family.
I know, and then he just likes to pretend these things that he made up are true. So he's like, "Wasn't it great when I beat the shit out of your dad?"
That's what I
like,
would say.
That. And every now and again, like a few days ago, he's like, "Oh yeah, that time I beat the shit out of your brother."
And her brother's like a very small sort of 18-year-old. Very nice
he's
guy.
21.
All right, whatever. But yeah, that's a very good question. Why? It's a very good question, Ashley. First of all, we should ask the women here: is that true?
Yeah, it's great. That's a great point. Do girls go around saying, "Well, that's why I fucked your dad last night," like all of the guys I knew said to their buddies?
I've never said that, but if a girl's dad was hot, then there would be like, "Hey," I just don't.
But you've never had a friend just look at you and be like, "That's why I fucked your dad last night."
No.
But this is what I'm saying. Like, dad I'd like to fuck is not a thing. Right?
No.
Like, a MILF is a thing.
Well, there's a DILF, I suppose.
Is there a DILF? Is that a thing people talk about?
Sure, yeah. Guys talk about it.
Guys talk about it for themselves, like, I'm a DILF.
Well, yeah. As a matter of fact, it's funny because I was just doing stand-up in Phoenix this weekend, and the MC had a shirt that said DILF, and he did a bit about it.
That's hilarious.
All right.
I guess he was trying to brand himself as a dad that you should want to fuck. I don't think it worked.
We need to find me that shirt.
You're
babe.
a DILF.
Yep, I need it. I need it, and I want it.
I think in short, the answer to that question is because men are retarded.
Correct.
That's a fair answer.
Yes.
All right, Dr. Ashley. If I get a Prince Albert and it gets infected, could I potentially have to have the tip of my dick cut off?
Ooh, that's a good question. I haven't. Theoretically, yes. I'm not a huge piercing person. I'm not a huge general piercing person, but
sure.
Well, a Prince Albert is when you get the
head of it, I think.
Yeah,
right?
the rod through your head.
Through the urethra.
Damn.
No.
Right? Yeah. Isn't it coming out?
I don't know. I think it goes through the girth, like up,
Oh, I see.
like a
I
barbell.
always wondered with that. I mean, how the fuck does that work? Like, how does that?
Ashley's Googling it.
I know. I've seen like a ton of this shit. I
would think you would have seen them.
If you're diabetic, I would tell you to probably stay away because diabetics get the most infections of everything.
I would guess what you need is just a friend who has a bottle of Neosporin.
A lot of Bactine.
Sort of
Look,
help you out, I guess.
I've seen all sorts of dead penises. So, yeah.
That's horrifying.
Yeah.
Shit. She just found a picture on her phone. Fuck.
Why
the fuck does anyone do that to them?
I don't know why they would do it.
Yeah, for sure. You want to look at this one?
No, I don't want to see it.
Did you Google an infected one or just a regular one?
No, just like regular ones.
Oh, okay. It's still horrifying.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
See, to me, that's not super horrifying because I put things up dicks all the time.
And you cut them open on purpose in surgery.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like talking about what happened at work. And he's like, I don't want to know what happened at work.
Well, this is a truism about, I guess a urologist or probably any doctor or whatever, but it's like their baseline of what they see and talk about is so gross that they talk about it all the time in person, like in restaurants. And you're just like, stop describing that open sore in the restaurant.
Yeah.
Like no one wants to hear about that.
I know.
And you guys just think it's so normal. Like
it is normal though. Like
out of his asshole. And you're like, oh Jesus.
Okay, so when I was a kid, I thought I would never be a doctor because I thought it was gross. And then for some reason, I ended up doing this. And then like you start med school, and they give you this cadaver. And you have this like dead person laying in front of you, and you slowly pull them apart over the next 4 months. And like nothing will ever be the same after that. You know what I mean? Like when you saw somebody's face in half and like their last meal crumbles out. Like,
so that's like the line of your life. Like before I dissected a cadaver and after I dissected a cadaver.
Yes. And nothing fucking matters after that.
I feel ya. I could see that.
Piercings, like you're like, I don't fucking care. Like, that man's like cubed like carrots that he had for his last meal. Like,
oh my God.
Months before that, like you are like whatever.
Good Lord.
That's badass.
It is so intense.
All right, let's go on to another question before people throw up. Jesus Christ.
All right, this one's hilarious, and if this wasn't asked, I would have asked it probably in a little different fashion. But Mo, Ashley having to take a dump and causing a break in your podcast was hilarious. Between us, could you tell that she had to shit or not?
Not even a little bit. I was so confused. She didn't say, "Hey, I have to take a shit." She's like, "Let me just go to the bathroom." I was like, "Was I just not supposed to realize I was like 10 minutes?" Like, talk about that. And also, I just find it so baffling. Like, how do people not plan out their shits? Like, we only talk for 45 minutes an episode, but I
snuck up on her, I guess.
Really
snuck up on me. We had bees, okay?
Oh God.
We had bees for breakfast. It's like not my thing. Okay.
Yeah.
You guys have had a shit come on you suddenly. You've had a shit come on you.
No, I'll be honest. It happened to me today in Target, like at the register, and this lady was the slowest register lady.
And was the woman writing a check?
No, but the lady was ringing up one slow product at a time, and I'm starting to like, it was giving me pains in my lower back. Like I was like, fuck me. I'm going to have to just say I'll be back.
Oh, no.
But when it happened to you, I was actually listening to that episode. I just pulled up at the gym and was sitting there like finishing up to where I was going to go in. It was just so funny because the way that Mo handled it, he was like, all of a sudden they were gone and right back, and he was like, so did you shit? What was that all about? What happened? Because that.
Well, I'll tell you, when I came on me suddenly, I started like signaling, like silent. I was like, oh, cut it off.
Sign language.
I thought he would make like a seamless transition, like I took shit and come back, and then we would pretend nothing happened. But instead, he was like, let's just focus on this. Like, babe, what were you doing?
Oh, that's so funny.
And then we go on the Fighter and the Kid, and I'm like, Mo, we're on this huge podcast. This is the most listens we're gonna ever get, and it's the episode where I had to go take a shit during the middle of the episode.
Oh, that's the one that was that week, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, this is not awesome.
But it is. She had a bad case of the Galactica.
Oh, for sure.
I would be mortified. You handled it like a champ, though. I would be like, I gotta go.
No, she was great, but she was like, yeah, I had shit, had beans. Like, I was like, damn, that was the most like casual put off. Because yeah, if it'd been you, you'd have been like, no, I didn't. No, I did not. I was sitting in there peeing for 10, 15 minutes straight.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
I have had previous relationships where we kind of just pretended that like I didn't have like bowel movements, and I still remember I with an ex we were kind of like breaking up or having our breakup conversation, and he was like, I know you think I'm an asshole, but for the past like 3 years we were dating, I never farted in front of you. And I was like, oh shit, you didn't. Yeah, you are more considerate than I thought you were. Well, so that was his relationship mic drop. Whatever you thought I did, I never farted in front of you.
I mean, that's fairly low bar, I guess.
Yeah, was that his attempt to win you back? Like, this is ridiculous. I never farted in front of you.
You say I'm not romantic. Shit right now.
It would have only been better if he had just turned around and ripped one and walked off.
Yeah.
I know, that would have been better. But I remember that to this day. So,
it's hysterical.
All right, this one I had to Google, and Brooke had never heard about it. Dr. Ashley, where and when did sounding become a thing? Is there a medical application, or is it just people jamming stuff up their pee holes out of boredom?
Yeah, that is super great question. So, sounding medically is a legitimate thing, right? So like you can get narrowing of your pee hole, and if you come in and you can't, like you're spraying or you're straining, and I look at you and your pee hole's really narrow, then I'll put like metal rods right, in your hole. Yeah. And they come in like a set, and you go from thinner to thicker. And
they got the JV varsity and they got the varsity pipe.
But you can do it to men and women, right? So that's the real medical application. Is like somebody pee hole narrow, you use metal rods sequentially bigger and bigger to get them bigger. And those are called urethral sounds. Now, some people use it for like sexual pleasure, and it depends. Like most people aren't wired that way, but there are some people who are actually wired such that sticking things in their urethra is like a pleasurable feeling. So those people go and start sounding, and sounding is totally fine. The issue is you just have to like be clean and use the right stuff. And the problem is when people like take things they shouldn't be putting up there, like dirty pens, and they lose it and it gets stuck up there, and don't do that. So if you want to sound for pleasure, my suggestion is that you buy like some real sounds, I guess, and wash them before you use them and lubricate them well.
Well,
and
let me tell you.
At least run those things to the dishwasher or something.
A year and a half ago, I had to have 2 levels in my neck fused. I'd have 5, 6, 6, and 7 fused. They had to cut them out and fuse them, which is no big deal. I went through everything with the neurosurgeon, and the nurse that runs the office was like, my only concern was, am I going to have a catheter? That horrifies me. She said, no, your surgery is under 4 hours, no catheter. I was like, well, then do whatever you got to do. Great. I wake up, and they were like, Mr. Fowler, you can get up and go to the bathroom. It may sting because you had a humongous earth-shattering catheter. And I was pissed. I mean,
No,
she
they
was
kinda-
there. I was
they
like,
kinda
y'all
said it-
fucked me. You lied to me.
They kind of said it like as they left the room. They were like, "Sure, yeah, I go to the bathroom, but am I staying a little bit?"
And so she walked me to the bathroom, and I peed, and my neck didn't bother me a bit. I almost fell to the floor from the fire that shot through my dick hole.
Yeah, he almost like I struggled to hold him up because he was like, I thought he was gonna pass out. It hurt so bad. I was like, and I mean, this was a year and a half ago when he had his surgery. He's so pissed. Still,
I still am upset with the medical community. You're my first outreach of trying to, mend this bridge. So why did they lie to me? Is my question.
That's also a good question. Did they say why they put such a big one in? Or
No, I'm kidding. I'm sure it's just a normal size, but
we had bad insurance.
No, what I say is even if I tell somebody they're not going to wake up with a catheter, oftentimes we'll stick a catheter in during the surgery, which sounds like you had.
But why?
So when you're asleep, you can't pee on your own. So the anesthesiologist, let's say, is giving you a lot of IV, and your bladder is going to get full, and we don't want your bladder to explode, basically. So we'll stick a catheter in there to drain it. And if it takes, honestly, for a 4-hour surgery, even, I probably would put a catheter in, and then just take it out at the end. But it depends case to case. But
yeah, it was out when I woke up.
They probably just should have told you.
See, I agree.
Yeah.
That's the only part that, because had they told me, and I'm kidding about being mad, of course, it was fine after
I know. I
couple
told him to
hours.
suck it up. I was like, I had one after my C-section. I don't remember crying about that, but everything was destroyed down there. So
I
Yeah,
cried.
In his defense, though, and I'm certainly not sure if this is true or not, but isn't a male urethra way longer than a female urethra?
Yeah, it's longer.
So there's just a longer area for that.
more surface
Whatever.
area.
Yeah, that I don't know.
Sure.
Would it generally hurt a man more? I don't know, because it sounds horrifying to me. I didn't even think that would be painful. Anytime I hear any of these operations, it scares me because, best case scenario, you live long enough to have to experience all of this shit.
No shit.
That's very depressing to think about.
So do you guys watch John Oliver ever?
No, what's John
No,
Oliver?
on Comedy Central.
Oh,
He
no.
used to be on The Daily Show. But yeah, he had that show on HBO, where it was last week today or whatever.
Yeah. So the point I was getting to is one of his recurring characters is the catheter cowboy. So you see those ads where there's some cowboy who's talking about his catheters, and you're like, what the fuck is this about, right? And you're like, what are the old people doing?
Right.
So it's actually because there's a ton of guys when they get older, they can't pee on their own anymore, and they actually stick a catheter up themselves every day.
Johnny Knoxville, I think, at least had to do it for at least 4 years after a bull kicked him in the dick during
Holy
Jackass.
shit.
And he might have to do it for the rest of his life.
He
I
said
think.
his dick looks like a used dog chew toy, basically, because he's punished it so much, with all the stupid shit they've done. So I would not be surprised if he has to have one of those pocket catheters or whatever. Every time I see a commercial for one of those, I'm like, why?
It's terrifying.
Why? Why do you have to have a catheter? I mean, if when you're for an old man, wouldn't that be for a prostate issue or?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Well, Mo, we had a listener ask this, and I'm not sure. I've seen you hashtag it a time or two, but I don't know what they're referring to, so maybe you can enlighten us. It says, Mo, Tekashi 6ix9ine is going to jail for a long time. What do you think?
Man, I mean,
This person read his mind. All he's fucking talking about this week. All he's fucking talking about.
That guy's done.
Tekashi 6ix9ine, it's who would have seen that coming, right?
I know. Such a
Who would've
clean
thought
cut
him
guy.
going to president? I mean, he seemed like he was just really on a good track. I am just perpetually behind the ball of what's popular because I just got into Tekashi 6ix9ine 4 days ago, and now went to jail for the rest of his life. It's just when I got into Sublime, and they're like, "Well, the guy died last month." I'm like, "What?"
That's
Aw.
yeah. All I knew him as was the kid that looked like a huge douche.
Does he have
I know,
tattoos all
but
over
man,
his
he's
face?
not bad. Have you listened? Because
No, I've never listened. I need to give it a try.
I kept seeing on Instagram, I'm like, this guy is such a loser. And then I listened, I'm like, yeah, I like it a lot.
That happens.
That does happen. But
I mean, I don't think that rainbow long hair is going to do well for him in prison. If I'm being honest, I think that's a major draw.
That's a red.
Yeah, and I read this afternoon they put his ass in
starter kit.
Yeah, they put him in general population in a Brooklyn detention center.
What's he in jail for though?
For everything. Like they arrested him for like everything on earth.
They arrested him for like the shit they got like John Gotti on.
Yeah. Yeah,
this actually reminds me, it's funny because this guy Tekashi 6ix9ine, which is like, obviously I was just in my this lame whiteness of wanting to read about all this stuff. I was just sort of like, I read enough about him. Like, all right, his dad was murdered when he was a kid. And like, he's like, he's from probably a bad area or whatever. But like, obviously it's this infatuation with a certain kind of lifestyle. And then you get what comes with that lifestyle, which is like violence and being arrested. Now, it made me think about when I grew up in a very not violent small town, there was two guys who wanted to be rappers. And one was like this dumb white guy and one was like this big fat Mexican guy. They were both total pussies and like they were not tough at all, but they were obsessed with it. And the Mexican guy followed the gangster rap vision enough that he got himself involved in like a drug dealer and got shot and killed. And like it was like very sad because he was like a nice guy, but like somehow Tupac was so popular at that time that I really think like rap for like a particularly like insecure person or whatever, any kind of thing like that, people do fall for it. And they think like, oh, these videos, everything looks so great, but then the reality is, well, I mean that's where it ends up,
right? You can end up dead or in jail.
With Tekashi, it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's a real tragedy. Out of everything that's happening in the world today, it's probably the saddest thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I miss the guys, like you said, Tupac and Biggie. Those guys look like rappers. I see these kids now, like I had no idea till this stuff recently came out about who he even was. And then you got some dude named Little Xan or some little.
Yeah, and that guy's just like a little bitch. He's just like a little like kid with like a Z. Like he has 3 Z's under his eye, like he's like 18. He's thinking about naps. Like,
I know.
How tired could you be? You're a fucking child.
All right. Well, I want to get this one in because this is a big one. We got actually 3 of the same question for Dr. Ashley about. Basically, they're all about dick transplants. Like wanting to know, is that basically, are they really using cadavers or is it a synthetic cock? And where and how is this? Is it something you see becoming more routine and doable?
So they definitely do not have synthetic cocks. That would be a real development that I think you should devote more research to make it. The way they get it is from organ harvesting, the same way you get like livers and kidneys and spleens. When somebody dies, organ donor will donate the penis. So, if you check that box to be an organ donor, you should think about that and which parts they're donating, because they might also take your dick.
Hey, so, why not?
But I know, why not have your dick live on? I don't know. Maybe that's the best thing.
Now, let me ask you this. If you get in a horrible accident and your dick gets put onto a gay man's body, now are you now gay by dick? So it's not that there would be anything wrong with it or right with it, but just it's an interesting thought.
I think you would be. Yeah, I think you would be a little.
I think your dick is, but not necessarily you. You're dead.
Well, here's my question.
First of all, a man is his dick. Let's be honest.
It is 100% true.
Not that there would be anything wrong with it, and maybe that's how it should go. Whatever sexuality, whether you're gay, then your body, your dick, or whatever, if we should end up on a straight person's body, if you're straight, it should end up on a gay person's body. That way, we all get to be everything, and it would maybe bring everyone together in a sort of gross Frankensteinian way.
Well, I have two questions
considered a real
about
organ,
that.
though.
For you, Dr. Ashley. One, would it be possible for like someone like, say, Bruce Jenner, when they're having sex reassignment surgery and they cut their wiener off, could he say, take mine and donate it? Could it be taken then?
They don't cut it off, though. I thought they like fold it in.
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Oh, look, you know a lot. So yeah, exactly. So that trans surgeries would be a great place to get penis donations. The problem is that most times when people transition from a man to a woman, you'll do something called a penile inversion vaginoplasty, which is exactly what you said. Basically, you hollow out the penis and you turn it inside out. so they can't donate the penis if they're going to do that. Now, and on top of that, even though they take out like the erection portions, and I'm getting kind of technical here, but they take out the erection portions, but they save the head of the dick and they turn it into the head of the clit. Mm-hmm. So the way that person, when they become a woman, still has sexual pleasure is by still having the head of their own dick. So you can't really give it to somebody else.
It's kind of disappointing because it always sounds more interesting if they just lop it off.
Yeah.
Like they're just in there with like a meat cleaver, like.
Yeah, but just get one of those things that you use to cut like cardboard, like.
Yeah, and we do that when people have like penile cancer or flesh-eating bacteria of their penis. But
oh my God.
But then you can't donate those to anybody.
No.
Well, the next.
I've done that. The first time I ever scrubbed in on a urology surgery actually was to cut off a penis.
Oh my!
Holy God!
There's no turning back.
No, I know. The attending. I walked in the room and the attending was like, "You'll enjoy this more than me." And he handed me the scalpel, and I was like, "All right."
It's ridiculous.
And that's the story of Hanukkah.
Well, so would it be possible, because someone asked this also, but I'll be honest, I'm wondering the same thing, and I hope it doesn't come out bad. Could me, average white guy, get a humongous black dong and it transplant? If we're the same blood type and stuff?
Yeah, you could. I mean, if you could definitely do that.
Hell yeah.
You need to find someone who's willing to trade, by the way. That's not going to be easy.
Yeah, no.
That's like saying, hey, I got this egg salad sandwich. How about that BLT finds its way over here?
Yeah.
That well-endowed man.
You want to give me that fruit by the foot for these carrot sticks I got?
I mean, that is the problem, right? If you put yourself on a dick organ transplant list, like if you get to the top of that list and some guy gets in a motorcycle accident, like what if he has a tiny dick? Like,
oh God, I never thought about that. That's really
you're like, what if you can't? It doesn't work like it.
No, yeah, and you go through that excruciating surgery and you're disappointed as fuck when you look down.
But can the guy that's receiving it be like, can I see it first before I accept this surgery?
Quick, go into the surgery. There was an accident in Koreatown.
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait till the.
It's in Compton.
Right.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a drive-by?
Yeah, I'll wait. I'll wait till we get a muscular black guy, a tall, lean. Black guy from Compton is what I'm waiting for. Sorry, guys, we're gonna have to.
I'm sure
call
there's
this
one
off.
with my blood type.
This is a scary thing where people are going to get offed for their beautiful dicks. Like, I don't think I want to live in a world like that.
No.
Like, we have to protect our large, well-endowed, men from
dick bandits.
But how often does somebody need a dick transplant? I mean, obviously you said a couple that were like right on the top. Is it often that people need transplants?
It's a lot of soldiers, right?
Okay.
From IED explosions.
Oh yeah.
It's mostly soldiers. So it's mostly soldiers. When the two main reasons why you would have your penis removed would be trauma, like from being in war or from penis cancer. And people with penile cancer generally don't live very long. So
why would you? I mean, I throw in the towel on diagnosis for that. I'm out.
No,
that sounds terrible.
It's really bad. It's really bad disease. But on top of that, you can't get an organ transplant, or usually you can't, because then you have to be on drugs that suppress your immune system, and that's going to let the cancer. Yeah, it's bad for the cancer. So it's usually, like you say, combat veterans, and I think most of the experience of penis transplants, like to date, is people who are like vets and stuff who had bad injuries. So in that way, I think it's great.
Of course,
People think like dick surgeries are like cosmetic or elective, and it's like for that person like was willing to like risk their life for us, like you should make them whole.
Without a doubt. I mean, you got a young guy that's over there fighting, and he gets steps on an IED or something. That guy should get the most precious cock. For sure, of the top of the list to me. Yeah, no doubt. Or have your pick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. We should.
They should have like one of those sort of tables you find in a Chinese restaurant where it just spins around. And he gets to look at every type of penis.
Every single one.
The catalog of like when you go to Amsterdam, like all the glass case.
This question is for me, and it's
It's another dick transplant question, probably.
We've shared this before, but I've got what some people call a gangster lean to the right. And that may be too much information for you. But
I've asked you several times to stop talking.
It's real. And I think I heard you say at some point there is a surgery to fix that. And is it necessary? Like, I mean, I'm cool with my...
Don't fix it.
My gangster lean.
Have you always been that way?
For as long as I can remember.
Yeah, then it's not a problem.
Yeah. And it fits perfect, so leave it.
Yeah. It is. It's thank you, babe. I know it's magnificent for you.
Wait, so did you have to find a wife that has like an oddly slanted vagina?
And I think I must.
It's funny because she said that from the jump because it's pretty obvious. Like the first time she looked, she's like, "Ooh, there's moves to you gotta bend her."
You guys are like Cinderella in the shoe.
I know, yeah, because I mean, like there was history on my side of like things kind of hurting having sex, like with my ex-husband and other guys, and then with him, it's perfect. And I'm like, I think there's like something like it really is.
I think she's saying I have a tiny wiener.
No, not at all.
It's like it doesn't hit the walls at all. So
yeah, it's so nice and cozy. I can just go to sleep. It's just soothing.
No, but it was like in weird places that it shouldn't have hurt. Like, so because I think something's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with you. Don't worry about it.
Sweet. But you do. And the last question that we've got is actually for Mo, and it is for his top 3 favorite current comedians and deceased comedians.
Ooh, okay.
This is good.
Top 3 current. Theo Vaughn, 100%. I would say is the guy at the store who I'm the most excited to see every night because he just says things that I don't know what kind of head injury he received as a kid to make him think of it, but they're just things no one could have ever thought of besides him. I would say he's definitely there. God, see, it's so hard. There's just so many people I like. All right, Daniel Tosh. I always love seeing him. I saw him tell a joke about Whitney Houston 3 hours after she died, so you gotta love that.
That guy's got huge balls.
Savage.
Huge balls.
Great joke. And I'd say, I mean, you got to go Hannibal Buress. I think right now is saying some amazing stuff. I'm loving the. Well, I mean, anybody who could take down Cosby, you got to love.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, people who are dead. Let's see. That's tough, man. I mean, Pryor, I just feel like people always end up saying the same people. I mean, trying to think if there's anyone else. I mean, like Bill Hicks is somebody that like a lot of Americans probably don't know about, but like he's the most famous comedian in England from America. Mm-hmm. He's like an American guy who got hugely famous in England and never quite caught on here, and he died when he was like 32. He's definitely someone worth checking out as people are interested in comedy. And then who the fuck else, man? This is who else is dead? Ron Williams?
Were you a Carlin guy?
I was not a big Carlin guy. Here's a great Ron Williams story. So I once opened for – so I'll put Ron Williams as the third so I can naturally segue into the story. So I saw I opened for Chappelle one time in 2006 at a tiny club in San Francisco. During the show, he said, there's a young comedian here who I think is going to go places. Ron Williams. Ron Williams comes out of the crowd. What? And then at one point, Mos Def shows up. What? And at one point, Robin Williams was beatboxing while Mos Def and Chappelle battle rapped.
I would die.
Yeah, I would just quit living.
I would have just died.
And the way he got on stage with them, because he had already finished his set and he came off, and then Mos Def came on. So I'm sitting at the bar with Robin in the club. It's like a small club, 200 people. And Mos Def is like, being a hip hop
love him.
Douchebag with like glasses and a backpack.
I'm obsessed.
Hip hop out. And I say to Ron Williams, I go, why does he have a backpack? What is he on his way to school? And all of a sudden Rob's on stage like, hello, son, welcome to school, man. Take your backpack.
You're like, I was saying the same joke as Robin Williams.
Oh, shit. I got to ask one more thing, and then we'll let you guys go, I promise. You guys have been awesome. But I know that you did, you appeared on Modern Family, right, Mo?
Yeah.
How was Ed O'Neill? He's one of my favorites. I love Ed O'Neill.
One of my absolute favorites, too. I've loved him since Married with Children and everything. And
gosh, yes.
So he was so cool. Like, so my scene, was a small thing, but I got to like cry, and I had to like cry in front of him or whatever. And then like the whole thing is he goes up to yell at me about something, and then I start saying, "Oh, my dog died today." I start crying. I asked him, like, "Can I like hug you during this?" Like, I want to do that. And he's like, "Yeah, it's fine." And what's funny about Ed O'Neill is he's a huge guy.
Yeah.
He's like 6'5". He does like Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like
He's a black belt.
He's from a black belt. He's from a very tough town in Ohio. Like, he's a tough motherfucker who also just happens to be a great actor. And after we shot the scene, we went to the craft services on the Fox lot, and he asked him, he's like, "Could you bag up a bunch of these, I think they were like burritos or something." He's like, "Can you bag a bunch of these? I want to bring them home to my kids."
Fuck yeah.
Oh, you're like $300 million. Like, oh, let's see if we can make this craft services last.
Yeah, he's always Al Bundy to me, but he's not typecast as that because he is. I mean, he's been awesome in so many fucking things. But I just imagine, because I'm such a big fan, that he's such a cool guy in my head. Yeah. And I've
100%. Like, he was that rare kind of. I wish I could say I got to work with him for longer, but the little bit I got to talk to him, he was so grounded. Now, it's funny. So I did the season 2. So Manny was also in the scene, Manny and Luke. And Manny was like a little kid at the time, a real kid. So after my scene, he comes up to me, he's like, "Hey, that was really well done. It was really nice." I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here. Aren't you like 9?" And then on the way back to our trailers, he just sort of starts like sporadically karate chopping like a bird or something that was flying around. I was like, okay, at least he's still a kid.
And now he's like
he was very sweet. It was just sort of like ridiculous to get a compliment from a child.
Right.
Like, then you remember that child's like has more money than you'll ever have.
Oh, for now, everybody. I mean, and I've watched that show forever, but it's like now when we watch it and it plays in syndication, and sometimes it'll just start over, and then it's like, oh, there's Lily as a newborn, but she's like 15 now on the show, like, and it's the same girl. Like,
well, it's funny because Lily's mom, I don't know her, but her name is I think it's something Adams. She's a comedian.
Oh.
And so, but she's a comedian who had some success, but never really became like a big star, or got on a big show. And she's very funny, as I remember. I never know her, but I've never seen her on TV. But it's funny to me that her daughter is the one who's on like a hit TV show.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And since she was literally like a 4-month-old baby or something.
Yeah.
She did not pay her dues.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm so excited though for, and I know this is a little switch, but for Brian Callen getting his show, his spinoff of the Goldbergs.
Oh yeah.
How fucking awesome is that? That guy, man, when you hear him talk about his career, and if you follow him, I'm a big fan of his. That guy's put in the work for years at all kind of shit. He's a great actor, funny as shit,
but doesn't
smart.
get like too bent out of shape. Like he's like, well, stuff doesn't, if the pilot doesn't get picked up or whatever, like he doesn't get all down in the dumps. Really doesn't seem like, at least like,
yeah, it's almost
outwardly.
Like, and Mo would be able to tell us this even better, I'm sure, but it's almost like Hollywood jaded him. Like he expects it to go bad. Because I remember he was like, he didn't even want to talk about it when it was a possibility. And he was like, it's probably not going to happen.
Well, yeah, probably a guy like that. I mean, Brian has, his career is kind of like, I mean, he's like one of those weird kind of Comedy Store guys where like Bobby Lee, where you're sort of like now Bobby Lee's on a show, but like, even when they're not on a show, you forget that they're also doing all these like other things that would be like the best thing that happened to you all year.
Right.
So it's sort of like you're like, oh yeah, Brian, he's been paying his dues. Like, well, he was on Mad TV like 175 episodes.
Right. Yeah, that's true. He was.
I think the real difference with I guess Brian to me, and there's only a few people who I can really say this of that I met. He's just one of those guys who and again, I don't know him that well, but the little I do, he's just so humble and nice. Mm-hmm. And there's a few guys like that who it's like, Brian's been famous enough for plenty of years that he could be, arrogant or this or that. But he's just like, at least the vibe I get off is like completely grounded, down to earth, real guy. Mm-hmm. And when Ashley came on the show, she hadn't met these guys. I was like, as far as I didn't know Brandon at all. But he was super cool too. But I was like, these guys are like respectful dudes. Like they're not going to be weird at all. And they couldn't have been kinder and respectful and nice. And they were just like, I mean, these guys get millions of listens. They do very well. But they were just like, it felt just like this. It was very very comfortable and friendly. And so but I think Brian's got that. I actually have a great Brian Callen story. So I shot one small scene in a movie with John Stamos, Brian Callen, and Michael Rappaport were the stars. It was called like My Man is a Loser.
I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, so I have one scene. I don't even know if I've ever seen the movie because the guy never. Yeah, no, I saw it on iTunes, but he never got me a copy of it. Fucking Mike, the director. But so I have to do one scene again. I don't know why I'm always having to cry in these things, but I have to like tell this sad story about like my friend dying on a golf course. So it's me, Brian, and these two female actresses who are very good, and Brian is just like flirting and holding court the whole time in between takes. I'm just like, shut the fuck up, dude. I'm trying to get into my emotionality. And as soon as I do cut, Brian's like, so anyway, let me tell you this. He's just doing the Brian Callen show. And he says, I'm just like the flirt offensive or whatever he's doing. It's like you're trying to like get into your sad place and you just can't do it because he's such a bubbly guy, you know?
That guy's got so much damn energy, man.
Right.
Jeez.
And he's like 87, right?
I know, no shit. He's up there. And when he was here in Atlanta, he did a freaking wheel kick on stage.
Oh, yeah. That was the first thing he came out on stage and was like,
he can still move around well. It's impressive.
He keeps himself in some good shape. God. So I, as a high school wrestler with a 7-15 record, I hope I get to be on that show because I think it is about him as a wrestling coach.
Yeah. Well, he should have you. That would be fucking incredible.
Oh, yeah. Maybe he could have you on and you could not have to cry.
Maybe.
Yeah, let's stick to what works. I'll cry during that.
Whatever works, yeah.
Hey, well, we're going to let you guys get out of here. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You guys are the best.
Well,
go ahead and give let's give everybody the info where they can find you.
Yeah, so the Full Release is our podcast. It's on iTunes and all those things. And we're at The Full Release Pod on Instagram, The Full Release on Twitter. And
our email is thefullrelease@gmail.com. You can email us questions.
Yeah, give them the phone number too so they can call in questions.
Yeah, and we do call in questions. So it's 213-631-3460.
And to anybody who wants to check out my comedy, I have an hour special on Amazon Prime you can watch called Negative Reinforcement. And if you have Amazon Prime, it's free to watch, which is convenient because I don't get any money.
Awesome. Well, we'll put that the number in the show notes because some of your funniest parts have been some of the call-ins. I love those on y'all's episodes. So I'm going to talk in some of our podcast buddies. We got some pretty sick-minded fucks.
And get them to call in.
Yeah, we're going to have them call you.
And they can just make up shit and call it in too.
Absolutely.
We do real answers to fake questions.
But yeah, that's our favorite segment. Real answers to fake questions.
Yeah.
If you ask us a fake question that's ridiculous, we will take it deadly seriously.
I love it.
I'm going to tell Jody and all the guys. They'll be calling you guys and blowing you
open the floodgates.
Awesome, man.
Love it.
Well, thank y'all so much. We will we'll be in touch and we'll send you guys the link and everything for this soon.
Please do. We'll shoot it out as much as we can.
Awesome. Thank you all.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
All right. That was fun as fuck.
That was fun.
Love those, both of them.
I know.
I could have went so much longer. But how long were we?
I
Felt like we were running long.
I moved because it like.
And I didn't want to hold them forever like a dick.
We're at an hour 22 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to hold them any longer and they got shit to do.
That was so fun though. Yeah, I mean that's our friends now.
Yeah,
we could hang out.
They're good friends for sure.
I know. I was not expecting to do the video part, so I'm like in my PJs.
And it sounded good.
It did sound good, yeah.
Yeah, so definitely check out their podcast, The Full Release. It's fucking hilarious.
It is so funny, and the real answers to fake questions is fucking awesome because it's like people think they're being funny and calling in and asking something ridiculous, but there's a real medical answer for it, and Ashley will give it to you.
No, and what a great way to, if we have a lot of fellow podcasters here, what a great way to get your podcast name out there than to call and send a message and be like, this is so-and-so from this podcast, and, why does dick cheese smell so bad? Boom.
Jody should call in and ask about schmegma since that's his jam.
Yeah, he loves that shit. Yeah, give them a buzz, Jody. So we enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yep.
And as always, fuck you and yours and everyone you know.
And fuck your dick transplants.
Yep, you should fuck those. Later.